I know people may deny it, but I think that if you finish a sketchbook, you generally want to like eat it in some way. You know, it's just like, it's just, look at that. Look at that. I never used to be, you know, a fan of like chronology and timekeeping, but I've been trying to put the date that I started and finished. So when I look back and I'm old and wizened, I can be like, oh, yeah, that was that time. I also have this stuck on here which says browse my current art book, not for sale, because I was at an art market selling my drawings and prints, and I had this with me and I kind of wanted to add some context to my art and show like a messier side of things, because I think that the messiness is kind of what is inspiring. Like, it has a lot of life in sketchbooks. These are taken from a gardening book that my partner got me, like a bunch of cool secondhand books to do collage with, and this is taken from, I can't remember his name, but he was an artist. He did an exhibition about like his placement of rocks or small boulders in space, and it was like one of the most beautiful things I've seen. Like, just the way he formed the space and like how it felt to be in the space with these rocks was really amazing. Maybe I just haven't seen a rock in a really long time. I really like this. I was listening to an interview with Lorde where she was talking about her latest album and the inspirations behind it, and a lot of the things she was kind of called to were metallic and chrome and like textures, and I found that inspiring. I know why I'm embarrassed to talk about that, but I think there's always an element of that with sketchbooks. Like, there's an element of imagining your future self cringing at what you have done today, like your skills or your interests, because it is very honest, at least for me. Like, I always feel like kind of dissatisfied with the work that I do in my sketchbook. Like, it never looks really polished or perfect, and I also think that's what makes them powerful, is like they're just authentic, and you know that you enjoyed yourself while you made them, and that's kind of the most important thing, really. I like my tea really hot. Like, I don't want to be burned, but I want to be like on the cusp of going to hospital. Like, this again, just experimenting with textures and like reusing like packaging that I had lying around. And I made like a mini book inside the book. It's a secret page, which is very exciting, because like another kind of metric of success, rather than like focusing on how my work looks, is how does it feel, like the tactile sensations, and how thick can I make the drawing book was one of my goals. Doing some quick sketches on my lunch break. Here's this guy. I think the concept is like he's a robot making coffees, and maybe like the coffee is like gonna go into like his head cap thing, and maybe it comes out again, or who knows, you know, like I haven't really asked him, so. Okay. I remember when I wrote this, I was feeling like I just kind of like conquered the mountain of philosophy. And then I looked back on it the next day and I really had no idea what I meant. But I think it also ties in with the Lorde interview, and feeling inspired by her inspiredness, that just the general like feeling of inspiration, even in proximity to you, can be inspiring. Like, she was talking about colours and like printing pictures out and putting them on her laptop, and I was like, even if I have no connection to that like the pictures on your laptop, I have a connection to you being inspired, and that is inspiring. I'm reminded to look at the little things in life, and you know, what do we like that maybe we don't realize that we like. I kind of hate this. Some value sketches. So on my lunch break, just getting pictures up on Pinterest and practicing shading. I really liked this one. This one was fun to do. Kind of just like focusing on the areas that were really dark and really light, and then slowly working in like the smaller shifts in value. And I'm not gonna lie, like part of the reason why I did this was like there is always an imaginary critic in my head being like, you do have to show like some skill. The sketchbook can't look like this the whole way through. But that's a lie, like it can. This one, yeah, don't know what that is. Doing some faces. This one's interesting for me because it feels more inspired by the world of comics and cartoons than I would normally have been interested in. My partner is very into comics, and then I started reading the Saga comics, which are amazing. And you know, before I knew it, I was drawing eyebrows in a different way, and I was kind of getting a bit comic-y in my sketchbook, and I like it. Like, I think there was always a part of me that was like, oh, comics are not real art, you know, it's not one of those old like French guys who was very sexist and smoked a lot and people write books about, but yeah, comics are their own thing and they're really cool. Okay, I think that like the perspective is a little bit off, but this one I do like. Also kind of comic-y. So even if I kind of like start drawing something and like the whole page isn't working out, I just try and finish it. So by that I mean I kind of like, I did add some shading, and so it kind of looks like a finished piece. There's something way more satisfying about having like something that I've worked on and that I've kind of like brought in together to try and make it like a full composition, rather than seeing that I've like started something and like abandoned it straight away. Kind of same deal with this one, like didn't love it but just had fun scribbling, doodling faces and adding in some shading so that there's like contrast. I had an art teacher once in university and he kind of gave this nice nugget of advice, which was, if something isn't working, add contrast. More faces. I didn't love it, but I added colour to it, and I think it gave it a chance. It's maybe the concept that I'm trying to articulate, giving pieces a chance and still getting them dressed, still taking them through the motions even if you don't like how they started off. Got some more faces and some clouds. Ron eats spaghetti. It's my friend. This one is very important, I think, for like humanity. It's called Seaweed. And it's just about the misspelling of the word seaweed. I kind of love this guy's face. And kind of this guy too. And I went in there with the oil pastels and it really wasn't working for me. I was like, oh, these colours are just really feel kind of gross and grotty together. But sometimes that's kind of nice. Okay, this is very cool. I was lucky enough to go to a creature design workshop with like a guy who's designed a lot of monsters in Hollywood. His name is Ehsan Biglu, and I was very late to class, and also not a student at the university, but so I felt very like, ooh, I snuck in. I wanted to do like a mixture of like biomechs, so like an animal with technology together, and I just focused on shapes, just doing like a bunch of different shape designs, not thinking about like the details just yet. And then I did a bunch, and then he went through and he was like, oh, you know, I like this shape, this one, these are good, and then you can kind of expand on those. So that was interesting. I did like very basic shapes and he added this, and just the way he like drew this with the pen, I was like, this guy, he can pen. It was beautiful. And he was like, you gotta add some things, some mechanical things, because this is Hollywood. I wanted to draw like really weird abstract things. And trying to make things really weird and abstract is very hard, and actually maybe not as interesting as a balance between weird and known. Like if something is completely alien, it's like harder to connect with, which can be interesting in some contexts, but then not always what you want. I kind of liked this one. I wanted to do something with this one, like this shape. I think the way it's just really satisfying. But then I was like, does it look too much like a penis? And I don't think it does. I wanted there to be like maybe like some lights coming out of its face, like a bioluminescent plant or something. Like, what do I mean by this? The scope of possibility is something skill learned. I think I meant that like your idea of what you can reach or accomplish is like a learned skill. The scope of possibility is something that you can train yourself to expand. Learn to dream. Okay, moving on. Oh, this is from... I played this game called Creeks. It was a great puzzle game and had an added element of like incredible art that I loved, and world building, and like the spaces that they made was so mysterious and magical, and like really brought me back to a lot of the things I loved when I was a kid. And so I kind of like sketched a little bit of it. Although I will say that the ending was strange. You find this kind of magical weapon and you destroy the monster and everyone has a party. And I was like, that does feel weird, because it's like that monster was enslaved. It had a right to escape. Yeah, there was no interrogation of that. Game design environment concept. I've like had this idea in my head for a while of like an environment design, and I wanted to tell a story, like maybe make a comic initially, and then I was like, oh, I don't know what it is, and then I played this game and I was like, maybe that concept that I've had in my mind for a while is actually meant to be a game. So I did a few concept drawings, and then I forgot about it. I moved on with my life. This is another lunchtime sketch. I quite like it. And I really like this page. I had like a Crafternoon time with my workmates for my birthday, and we all did collaging. And yeah, I really love collage. There's something that just feels really good about it. Like, it feels so good to have like the layers of paper and be ripping things, and it feels a little bit like less controlled than drawing. Yeah, and fun to add string and other elements that aren't just paper based. I did this one while I was watching Around the World in 80 Days, in brackets, underrated, exclamation mark. Okay, that film got really poor reviews, but I think it's a banger. I think it's a really good movie. Like, it's very silly, but I appreciate the energy. Also inspired by Around the World in 80 Days. They've got this kind of goblin-esque secretary. That was what I was going for. She's got like her work boots on, but she's like become like this weird, dilapidated form that crawls through the grass. It happens, you know? We've all been there. This is what I drew on the market day when I was talking about this, when people were browsing my sketchbook. I drew the setup, I had my stickers, I had my water bottle, we have someone browsing, some scissors. This was not my actual setup of my stall. I feel like having the scissors like that would be very aggressive. And it's also nice to kind of keep a diary, and like it's a non-realistic interpretation of my time there, and I think sometimes that can be more evocative of the feelings and the actual experiences that you're having, rather than seeing a photo or using a photo to remember things. Because while a photo is exact, it doesn't always feel emotionally representative. This is what happens after all ends. The Jade Sarcophagus Cybernetic Family of Magic. This is a really cool dream that my partner told me about. It was like a full story, and it didn't have an ending, and I still want to know what happened. This is just a copy of something from a book that I saw. It feels very wonky, and like I want to fix it up, but I'm just gonna leave it. And I was really out of practice. I do a lot of like life drawing or figure drawing on Procreate on my iPad, and it feels easier because you can kind of get in there and like fix where you mess up and stuff. But I was like, actually, I'm gonna try doing it in real life, and it was a lot harder. I kind of like lost some of that skill, and you know what? At some point, I did this. That's undo on Procreate, which is kind of wild. Drawing my friends at work. I'm not sure what's going on here. It's freaking me out, but I like it. Doing some more figure drawing practices, trying to do like quick gesture drawings. Some value studies, notes on perspective. I did this while watching Showgirls, and I didn't finish it at all, but I was like, this movie it's really something, isn't it? Yeah, I really like all the layers. I just started doing layers of baking paper and kind of trying to keep it simple and airy. Yeah, I kind of thought I'd expand on this, and then I just couldn't be bothered. Some building sketches. This one was really fun. I liked this. I feel like I always really get into, like, I kind of let go of things a bit more towards the end of the sketchbook together. And we've got my stickers that I made. Yeah. Got a fairy drinking 4X, the strobe, the love heart guy. And I was watching a video about why AI and like ChatGPT like hallucinates and what that actually means. Like, I don't use AI, how much energy it uses, like really, really bad for the environment. The reason it hallucinates is because it can't inform itself about like context. So if you ask it a question, the example in this video was a recipe for sunflower oil. It might give you the recipe for sunflower oil that it finds online, but it's also going to give you a poem about sunflowers, because it hasn't been able to distinguish the context. This is kind of my favorite page. I had a lot of fun making this part come out. Whee! I'll probably have to censor that. I like the idea of adding like lots of little hidden secret passages in my book, and all, like adding a lot of unnecessary stuff. That's just fun for me. Next page, these are all like stickers that I kept since I was a little kid. An excerpt that I liked here. People will keep on longing for real things, the stuff that you can touch. Which is what I was thinking about with collage. View from my apartment, oil pastels. Oil pastel. I really like the way I did the nose here. Sometimes it just comes out really good. And this is where I got the paint pens. Okay, I don't love this page, but it was really fun to make, and I think I want to make more things in the bright style. Brotherhood of the Bald Men. I was watching Fast and Furious 7, which was surprisingly enjoyable, actually. And so many bald men, so many shining, glistening heads, tiny heads atop huge muscled bodies and cars. It's just like a kind of overload of masculinity to the point where it was... And this is the last page. This was done using an experiment where, like, you cut a little square out of a piece of paper and then you move the square slowly around and you connect up your drawings, and so it kind of gives like a very like flat, detailed style. And then I'm gonna show you that it's pretty thick. It could be thicker. I think when I do my next one, it's gonna be just gonna be real thick.